Hey guys, Pranay here again for IEOR 190G. And so now I'm going to talk about the top 5 predictions that turned out to be false that I found online while doing some research. And so again, these predictions are in no particular order, so let's get started. The first prediction I found really interesting was, quote, "I see no good reasons why the views given in this volume should shock the religious sensibilities of anyone," end quote. And this statement was said by Charles Darwin, who, in reference, it was writing in the foreword to his book On the Origin of Species in 1859. So his book, On the Origin of Species, was essentially a book documenting and talking about how the various species that are living on Earth came to be and how they evolved and transformed. And so he wasn't saying anything like, "Oh, God did not," or like some superior being did not create the world, or like all these living things, but he was simply talking about how they had evolved from one species to another and things like that. And so he didn't think that it would shock the people of religion or anything. But the people of religion took it to mean a completely different thing. They believed that he was saying no superior being was responsible for life, and that there was a scientific explanation to everything. And so they didn't like that, and obviously caused a lot of shock and outrage, and lots of meaningless shock and outrage in my opinion. But that's a different debate. And so I really like that prediction. The next prediction is, quote, "Stock prices have reached what looks like a permanent high plateau," end quote. And this was said by economist Irving Fisher in October 1929. And this was 3 days before the stock market crash that triggered the Great Depression. So this, at the like at any point, this type of prediction seems kind of silly, because we all know that stocks are continuously rising and falling. They can never reach a plateau where they will always stay forever. But this is even worse because it was said 3 days before the greatest stock market crash in American history. And so, but the reasoning behind this might explain some of the reasoning behind the stock market crash. If such a famous economist believed that stock market price had reached like a high plateau, and if people were listening to him, they might have thought, okay, well, if we can't get any more money from our stocks, might as well sell it and use that money now. And if many people thought this way, then a lot of people at the same time would have sold their stocks. And then as people saw these stocks prices falling, they would have been quick to sell their stocks also. And as a result, this would have been one of the reasons for the failing of the stock market, the crashing of the stock market. And so, unfortunately, for our country's history and the people who were living back then, the stock market did not stay at this high plateau. And it's just a kind of a ironic prediction given the circumstances of what happened only 3 days after this prediction was made. The next prediction I really liked that turned out to be false was, quote, "Remote shopping, while entirely feasible, will flop," end quote. And so at the time, it's pretty obvious why this prediction was made. It would have been hard to imagine why somebody would give up the opportunity to actually see what they were buying in person before they actually bought it, because everything you see online or like remotely is not what it might look like or be like in person. And so this prediction was made by Time magazine in 1968, and you can see why they made the prediction, but what they failed to account for were two things. The first is that people are slightly lazy. They would like to save time. So they're lazy because humans are like very lazy, and so it's just easier to shop online from the comfort of your bed or couch or anything. And furthermore, it saves a lot of time. And in our world, time is money. The less time you spend on something else, the more time you have to do something. You have to do something else. And so Time magazine did not account for these two things. And now online shopping has become a big thing. It's still not at the level of physical shopping, but it's definitely getting there every single year. The next prediction I really liked was, quote, "Where a calculator like ENIAC today is equipped with 18,000 vacuum tubes and weighs 30 tons, computers in the future may only have 1,000 vacuum tubes and perhaps weigh only 1.5 tons, end quote. And this quote was made by Popular Mechanics, 1949. And so at the time, they must have done their calculations and saw, okay, progress is being made at this rate, and so computers will only weigh 1.5 tons in the future. But obviously, we all have computers in our pockets in the form of our smartphones, and so this isn't true. And I think this really highlights the fact of exponential growth in the technology sector. So, as more and more inventions are made in technology, these inventions spur one another, leading to exponential growth. And so I feel like the people who made this prediction must have only been looking at linear growth and charting it that way as opposed to exponential growth. Because obviously, we don't have 1.5 ton computers. We have a few ounce smartphones that weigh a few ounces in our pocket. And the final prediction I really liked that I found online was, quote, democracy will be dead by 1950, end quote. And this one was made by John Langdon Davis in his book A Short History of the Future in 1936. So 1936, this was a few years before the outbreak of the World War, and it was also during the Great Depression. So it's easy to see the motivation behind this quote, because the United States, which was a big proponent of democracy and probably the most known country of democracy, it was in the midst of the Great Depression, with people didn't have jobs, they didn't have houses, clothes to wear, food to eat, and it was falling apart. And there were a lot of other countries at the time that were not democracies, and Hitler was growing in Germany, where he was an autocratic ruler, and so it's easy to see where the journalist must have gotten his motivations for to making this prediction. And actually, the World War II broke out, and Hitler was very close to actually winning it and extending his autocratic rule throughout Europe and the rest of the world. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and so the prediction ended up falling short. And now today, everyone is really just pushing for democracy and putting the power in the people of the country. And so these were 5 predictions I found online that I really liked, predictions that turned out to be false. And so thank you for watching, and leave any comments or questions or opinions you might have in the comments below. Thank you guys.